The Portugal Empire played a huge role in the Columbian Exchange. With the Americas newly found, trade and colonization began to occur rapidly. The Treaty of Tordesillas, signed in 1494, divided the newly discovered lands between Spain and Portugal along a meridian. This agreement gave Portugal rights over Brazil, which was quickly transformed into a major agricultural hub, focusing on crops like sugarcane, tobacco, and rice. The cultivation of sugar, driven by the transatlantic slave trade, led to a massive increase in sugar production. This not only fueled European demand, but also had significant health impacts. The Old World saw an influx of sugar, contributing to dietary changes and rising rates of sugar-related health issues, such as obesity and dental problems.
However, due to sugar's health benefits and taste, demand in Europe for sugarcane was high. Portugal responded to this by dominating the sugarcane trade following its crop cultivation in Africa. They had similar success along Brazil's coast, so much so that Dutch traders took Portugal's sugarcane plantation system and replicated it throughout the Caribbean, quickly becoming the region's top crop. Because Portugal's plantation system required heavy labor, they initially subjugated and enslaved the local Tupi tribes to harvest sugarcane. However, the tribes were poorly adapted to a sedentary lifestyle and often fell victim to Western diseases. To solve this problem, Portugal turned to its already established slave trade in West Africa.
In the year 1549, under the rule of King John III, the Portuguese Empire sent many settlers to the land we know today as Brazil. Many of these settlers were traveling so as to begin sugar production. However, a portion of these settlers were also Jesuit missionaries, sent to convert the native Amerindians. With time, however, the sugar plantations needed a stronger labor force, and the settlers began to enslave the Amerindians to work on their plantations. These conditions became increasingly worse for the Amerindians. They opposed enslavement, but they trusted Jesuit missionaries, and the Portuguese settlers found a way to trick them. C.R. Boxer wrote, "On occasion, the slave raiders even disguised themselves as Jesuit missionaries, complete with cassocks and tonsures, in order to win the confidence of the savages, since the Jesuits were, by and large, the only white men whom the Amerindians would trust. Despite these attempts to enslave Amerindians, they ultimately would not accept slavery. This led to the Portuguese settlers looking for other sources of slaves."
The Portuguese played a crucial role in the Columbian Exchange, particularly through the transatlantic slave trade. As early leaders in exploration, they established extensive trade networks linking Europe, Africa, and the Americas. For example, in Angola, the Portuguese expanded their influence by controlling the slave trade, which fueled the labor demand in sugar plantations across Brazil. On average, there were high percentages of slave deaths as they crossed the Atlantic. After all, the allotted food ration was 1 bushel or 10 pounds of manioc flour or cassava flour per slave. The movement of African slaves to the Americas allowed the Portuguese to also trade goods like sugar, tobacco, and alcohol. This exchange of people and goods had lasting impacts on economies and cultures across continents, shaping the modern world.